a super bad space frog, and he's gonna gobble up and gobble down the human race. There is nothing you can do about it. He's gonna gobble up and gobble down the human race. Oh no.
Hello, everyone. This is your friend Dee Doss. I'm glad to be back with you again. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. I've got some wonky stuff going on with the internet, but oh well, we're going to muscle through it. This is the third one I've tried to do in a row, and I just went back to what I was familiar with, trying to give you guys something a little extra where we could look at evidence together. But where there's a will, there's a way. Nothing's cutting out or anything. Outstanding. Good to see you, Diesel. Shadow Ops is with us. Fantastic. Glad you guys got to join us. I got a special treat for y'all. I'm glad it's such a small crowd because, all right. So if you didn't know, get some water. You guys get to hear me drink some agua. If you guys did or didn't know, a little bit over a year ago, wow, it's actually about 2 years ago, some very nefarious characters stole all my hard drives with all my evidence, deleted my channel, all that kind of stuff. Very, very, very bad people, not nice. But I forgive them. I love them because they're idiots. The thing about it is they got every last one except my main one, which I was beginning to back up everything. It's like the Lord kind of gave me some inside baseball. But that's neither here nor there. Folks, sometimes I forgot how good the Baron actually was back in the day. Tell you a little story. This one I refer to as the Juvenile. I was going into Brown Springs, and that's in southern Louisiana. Listen to me. Southern Oklahoma on the Red River, just a few yards down the road from my house. Actually, it's about 30 miles, but still, it's a hop, skip, and a jump away to be at one of the most active places in the South for cryptid research. So, turn the clock back to 2015. I have my first experience. I went down there under the auspices of, it was in October, close to Halloween, under the auspices of getting this scary B-roll footage because I'd gone back to school, North Central Texas College for criminal justice, coincidentally enough. And they had a contest going that was, the number one prize was $500 for the scariest movie. I have a big imagination. I know a little bit about editing. So I'm like, that's money in the bank, 500 bananas. That's a whole bill. So I go through there trying to get B-roll footage. And that's when I had my first experience with what later I knew to be the alpha female. It wasn't a sighting. It was an experience. I thought it was some old redneck boy. I'd gone in probably about 150, 200 yards. I didn't go in that deep whatsoever. But this creature, for lack of a better word, this female, Bigfoot, began to follow me back down the trail as I was leaving. And I heard the footfalls. And I knew it was somebody bigger than me because of how much space was in between them. So I just thought it was some good old boy looking for an ass whooping. But no, it was not. I smelled this like, it wasn't a pungent odor. If anybody's ever worked on a ranch or a farm, it was the same smell you would smell then. Just this animal smell, wild animal, real musk. So she's following me down this trail. I stop and turn around and say, like, what? Or something along those lines. And I keep walking because she stopped whenever I would stop. And folks, it's been years. I don't know why I did it, but I did. I whistled like a little something like that. And she did the same thing, but blew raspberries with her lips. You know, when little kids like blow water and spit out of their lips. She did that and whistled at the same time, which should be impossible. So that was my first ever experience. My the second one was the actual sighting where I saw her and I got ran up on by the juvenile. Now, anybody from the old channels heard me talk about the juvenile before. He's a juvenile delinquent. He's a snotty nosed, pimple faced punk. And he's lucky I would have ripped him apart. No, this thing was about 5 foot, almost my height. It looked like if it would stand up, it looked stocky. I've never really seen it that I know of standing up completely. But folks, I don't know if anybody noticed on the last video I put up, or the Bigfoot the Nephilim, but a lot of that footage at the end of there, that's Kirk Stokes and myself. That's our footage. And I'd like to introduce you to the juvenile, the snotty nosed pimple faced punk. I was going in one day and I looked over and I said, man, that tree stump looks like it has a face. So this is me zooming in directly on him. And as you see me veering to the right, to the left, I'm going, oh shit. Because like, look at his mouth. He's chewing something. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an Oklahoma Sasquatch. Now, there's tons of people going in there. This was, I mean, as you can see, where you see it start zooming in, that's how close I was to this creature. There's all sorts of madness. Like, I don't know if you can see behind it, but there's an individual behind it. Look at the nest that it's in and the sticks that are poking up. It's one of those igloo type teepees. But whenever you hear me refer to the juvenile, the one that bluff charged me, it was in a tree one day. It slapped a tree as I was walking by it. This is who I'm talking about. Like I said, folks, he's lucky. I would have beat him to death. But suffice it to say, on that old hard drive are some kernels of coolness. It really, it's like a trip down memory lane. You know what I mean? I spent an inordinate amount of time in this area. Some people say that I ingratiated myself to them. I never did. I think I brought them peanut butter once, and they didn't really want anything to do with it. And when I went back to check to see if yes, that's the one that spider crawled at me, Diesel. It did some wicked, like, it was weird. Its elbows were turned out, and it was belly was close to the ground, but you couldn't see like an alligator or crocodile, how you see its belly drag marks or whatever. It didn't do that. It was like as close to the ground as it could get without touching. And it all happened in an instant. Like, it came over that little bluff from the floodplain, like, and ran up on me and showed its teeth. And the crazy thing is, bro, and I've told you this before in private, Diesel, the thing that scared me the most is I didn't feel any fear from it. I don't know if I was just in shock looking at what I was seeing, or I just became the mayor of Trip Out City in that moment. But I remember looking down at it and it looking up at me, and it showed these big cartoon character teeth, and it like made them clatter, or it was strange. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it made some noise with its teeth. And I mean, folks, when I say looked up at me, I was that close to this creature right here. Piss on him. I hated him and he hated me. But that gave me sort of the idea that I was allowed to be in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, Shadow, it wasn't like, now I have smelled on occasion that funky piss, like nasty unwashed person smell. I appreciate that too, Shadow. But I've only smelled that on a couple of different occasions. I'll tell you about that one. Actually, one, can't even talk. I had taken my friend Jason Ned, who is Buster Ned, the greatest medicine man in Oklahoma, the last living medicine man, they call him. There's books and songs written about him, poems, but he was the last headmaster of the Choctaw School down here in southern Oklahoma. Old school medicine man. We went on his property and had some adventures, but anyways, Jason went in with me. I think it was his first time, and we accidentally had this one pinned behind a bush. We saw a flash of him as we turned around, and it was in this small little opening. It would have had to come out of its cover to get away from us. And we started kind of working in a clockwise and counterclockwise way so we could get a good look at him. And I just felt the atmosphere start to change. I was like, nah, Jay, let's leave him alone. Let's let him, go ahead and do what he does. Let's let him hide. So we turned our backs, and as soon as we turned our backs, we could hear it scurry off. But on our way in there, we saw one of these giant nests. And it had to be little ones because they didn't understand that their eye shine was visible. And it looked like they were definitely stacked on top of each other like dominoes. But it was like they were moving, and as they moved, it was some fluid motion where they never stopped touching one another. So they never broke that that weird symmetry that they were making. I know they were trying to disrupt their outline or whatever. I think that's something in them that they're born with. I don't know, but it was just cool seeing them like kind of shift their weight and move and be on top of each other and slide under another one just to get a better look at us. But when we went in, there was these two hunters, and it was out of season, but they had their whole spread. They, had a bunch of onions chopped up in a pan, had a little canopy up, just bold as Dallas hunting down there out of season. And it kind of, got in my craw a little bit. But on the way in there, initially, we smelt that skunky, pee, dookie, unwashed person smell. And it was horrible, and I saw those creatures in there. And I said, Jay, I mean, these folks, this was no further than 40 yards away from where these hunters were set up. I said, Jay, they're going to go in there. They're going to kill one of those little ones. They're going to get themselves in a jam. So I went back out. We both did. And I got hit with that odor again. I don't remember if Jason said he smelled it or not. But I got really upset. I got really mad that those hunters were down there poaching. And I confronted them, according to Jason. And he said I was giving them, giving them the what fur, and they end up leaving. I think they thought I was some sort of a, plainclothes ranger or something. I don't know. They packed up and skedaddled. And when I came back to the house, Jason was kind of laying it out from his perspective. And he was saying, like, I was kind of pushing the muscle on these guys, asking them a bunch of prying questions. But what I believe that is in that smell. I believe they can control it like gorillas can control. So they have scent glands in their armpits. I truly believe that she being the alpha female from the first encounter I had, the one I got to see bold as Dallas walk in front of us. I'll tell you about that one too. I think she hit me with some sort of a pheromone. Now, maybe you guys who are more inclined to be interested in that type of science can explain to me if that's possible. Like, can they control that to, I don't know. I don't think she was hypnotizing me with it or anything, but I just got the innate feeling that it was her. But anyways, in any event, this is just a portion of what I got from down there in Brown Springs. Again, this is this ugly son of a gun. He wasn't going to let me go through there, and there would be times that I pull up. I do my little, my little pregame ritual. Smoke a cigarette, let all the windows down, kind of soak in the area, and then I'd get out and start my march. But there would be days that I wouldn't even get out of the vehicle, that I knew if I did, I would get my game smoked. That one of these things, probably this one right here, would be in there waiting for me. I mean, you can see this thing, right? Inside this teepee type structure, see the stick sticking up out of it? You can pass this branch right here that's in front, that's arched over, which is an arch. I don't think it shows in the film. But that's phenomenal. And if you look to the right of that teepee, it looks like another one kind of posted up over there. and this anomaly that happened with the cameras. That happens to a lot of folks. And I go back before I started, back in 2015. I never heard anybody really talk about it outside of telling people that they really don't know what they're doing, that they don't know how to film. This was a brand new camera, folks, and this is an anomaly that it shouldn't have had. What's strange to me is you have these similar anomalies in all sorts of people's film, no matter what type of camera or film they're using. It's this similar weird type of anomaly where it smears everything and makes it blurry or over pixelates it or just flat out cuts it off. So very, very strange to me. But don't worry, I got some more stuff for you guys. Let's see, what else? Have any of you ever seen inside of one of these nests? When I say nest, it is like a nest, like a bird's nest. It's weird. I got this photo during the day. It was another one of those strange days. That heavy electromagnetic atmosphere was there, where you just know you're going to see something. And I hear people talk about how it's impossible to have like multiple encounters. It may be impossible for them, but I think these creatures really pick and choose who they want to interact with. I was talking to DW just earlier today. There's this gentleman in the Pacific Northwest who you guys all know. He's another show host. I was on the phone with him one day going through one of these Dollar Generals, getting some snacks or something. And he was telling me about this gentleman that he's friends with, who's a pretty well-known Native American Bigfoot researcher, and how he was talking to a couple of his cousins, and his cousins were like, we don't want to go out there with you. And he was like, man, come on, come with me. They ain't going to do nothing to you. They're like, no, we can't go because we're bad people and they'll kill us. Which kind of, I put my basket to the side and went out of the store because, folks, years ago, about a year into my research, maybe a year and a half, I showed one of my sisters this same footage, this footage right here. And there was another one. I'd gone further down the river to the west and captured some more. You can actually, in that one, you could actually see one of the small ones, one of the infants or something, on top of the mother's head. And she had this blonde coat that blended in perfectly with the fall leaves. It was amazing. You could see her move. You see her nostril flare up and stuff. And I showed this to my sister, and she's like, D, where you at, a zoo? I'm like, no, sis, that's on the Red River. She said, oh, bullshit. Now, I showed her where we actually drove in. You could see the sign. I said, you can go see one of these things. I'll take you in. And they don't frighten me. I don't think they're going to do anything to me. I don't think they're going to do anything to you. And this is before I'd actually started really bringing people in. She said, I'm afraid to go because they'll kill me because I'm a bad person. My sister's really not that bad of a person. But and this is way before this gentleman up in the Pacific Northwest told me about his friend's cousin saying that. And they said it verbatim the same way. A few months after that, my ex-girlfriend, one of her best friends, this guy named something or another, he saw some more footage I had got. And this wasn't even all that great, but he saw it straight up. A lot of people, it's hard for them to see, and they'll write it off as pareidolia. But he knew what he was looking at. Never seen it before. Knew what he was looking at. And he was like, man, but that can't be real. Told him the same thing. You can go with me and I'll show you. I don't think they'll do anything to you. Just don't run from them if they try to charge you or something. Guess what he said, folks? I can't go because they'll kill me because I'm a bad person. Folks, that's 4 different people from 3 different states, all saying the same thing. Verbatim. So you have to ask yourself, is that something in their spirit or their soul that's got them saying that? Or, me being a born again believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and believing that we're made in his image, that image being soul that's eternal, the spirit that animates the body, and our actual physical body, the flesh. That's, the perception of how we are made in the image of God. It's not just head, shoulders, knees, and toes, because God, the creator, doesn't have those things. He is pure creating light. So in any event, looking at it through my spiritual eyes, I do have to ask myself, why do these people who have nothing to do with each other, who prior to this, only two, the ones up in the Pacific Northwest, knew of the creatures. My sister had heard of them because my mom's side of the family is from Arkansas. It's very interesting to me, folks. Very, very interesting. And it's something to look into, something to definitely pray about, because I wholeheartedly believe that these creatures some of them are flesh and blood. Now, there's stuff out there that's making itself appear to be these, these hairy scaries. And then there are the hairy scaries themselves, who are, in my opinion, becoming possessed by the adversary. Because if you look at anybody's footage, these independent researchers like myself, or anybody who's going out there and bringing back more than a story, who's willing to show you something, and that takes courage. Mark Zasky's one of the biggest names I can think of, who's going out in the field and bringing back great stuff. Look at any of his footage, any independent researcher, and I don't care how many subscribers they have on YouTube. If you look real close, you'll see all this weird spiritual mumbo jumbo. And I can't explain it. I've seen it time and time again. And we'll get into that on a different show, because that's, well, no, I'll go ahead and tell you. Folks, when you start looking at, let me break it down this way. I'm guessing since all of us nerds like the same type of stuff, you've all seen these shows where they show pictures of ghosts, and the scariest one, and the one that sticks out of my mind the most, pops out, is these independent paranormal researchers went to some old asylum or something and looked inside of a furnace. And in this furnace, they heard some noise, but when they looked at the film, there was this picture of this demonic looking pig, this pig-like creature. And in the audio, I know you guys have heard it. I have the body of a pig. And I mean, it's scary shit. But if you look at that for long enough, it'll start to morph and change. It's the same way out there when we get pictures of these spirits. And I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of ghosts that you've taken yourself, so-called ghosts. But when you look at it, they begin to morph and change and warp right in front of you. And it happens so slowly and it's so subtle that you think it's a trick of your eyes, until you go and look at that picture, if you leave it out in the open, and that ghost, that demonic spirit, isn't even in the picture anymore. That's when you have trouble. And there's science behind it. At the CERN facility, where they house the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland, this thing's 22 miles around, right? They're slamming particles. It was just under the speed of light. Now they're going at slightly above the speed of light, slamming these particles together to see what sort of particles come from it. And under the auspices, and this is what they say publicly, that they are looking to recreate the Big Bang in a controlled setting. They could have called old Dee Doss down here in Oklahoma. I could tell them how it started. An eternal spirit being, an Elohim, Elohim Adonai said, "Bara, come into being, that which is not now is." So it's that simple. That ain't very simple, I know. But they want to harness, and they know that these people believe in God. Don't get it twisted, folks. They're none of these, especially these theoretical physicists, they all read the Kabbalah. They know exactly the same things that we do. They're Gnostics. They're esoteric Gnostics looking for this old pre-Diluvian knowledge, the pre-flood knowledge from the old world. I mean, let's get real. When it was Pangea, and you had what do you call it? The place where Aquaman's the king of, Atlantis. When Atlantis was around, and then there was the other one, the other big country, I think it starts with an S, but it was all these weird type of God-like beings, God with a little G. Folks, that's a myth that every single culture and people on planet Earth share. They all share the antediluvian flood myth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bananas. So all the Chinese, the Vikings, the Brits, us, every ancient culture on planet Earth share the same mythology somehow. Well, what is a myth? I call myth and folklore not easily accepted history. So I digress. This pre-flood world, I believe, and I think there's a lot of evidence out there to support this belief, was a technologically advanced people. They were miles ahead of us in their technology, and I believe they use more natural resources to foster that technology to kind of bring it forward, like Solomon's mirror. They call these scrying mirrors. That could have been, they could have been FaceTiming each other. You know what I'm saying? So CERN is building the Tower of Babel. And I find it very, very coincidental that on the very spot, there on that border between Geneva and France, between Switzerland and France, where they built this place, there used to be a temple of Apollo. Now, anybody who knows their Greek history knows that in these temples, there were always oracles. There was the Oracle of Delphi that everybody's familiar with, but there was also an Oracle of Hierapolis, an Oracle of the Necropolis, so on and so forth. There were oracles all over the ancient world. And this oracle was some poor girl, some 14, 15, 16-year-old girl who they get drunk and high, put her back in a cave, and all this cave, this smoke from this inactive volcano would come up, and her eyes roll in the back of her head, and she'd begin to give all this oracular knowledge. For instance, Alexander the Great, his father, Philip of Macedonia, anybody you name, Mark Antony, all these great leaders and heroes and generals of the ancient world, King Leonidas, they all went to one of these oracles. And the oracle, what was really going on is the spirit of Pythia, Python, the spirit of Pythia, would wrap itself around her spine and go over the top of her head, and her eyes would roll back, and she'd speak with two voices and start spitting forth this information that would get them, battle formations that they didn't think of, when to go to war, when not to go to war, so on and so forth. The ancient philosophers, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, they believed in having one of the invisible men attached to you. These daemon, they called them, Daemon. Same thing we would call devils who read the KJV, and demons who read other stuff. These devils, these daemon, would attach themselves to them, and then they would begin to figure out all this wide array of problems that they had overnight. They would write books within days. Yeah, demons. The accumulated knowledge of everything and everyone that demon was attached to then got transferred to these people. So, folks, in the ancient world, in Greece and Rome, it wasn't a bad thing to have a demon. It was a good thing. Same way it is now when you see these musicians, 20, 23, 27 years old, who shoot to superstardom, and they got more talent than everybody, all their peers put together, but they end up dying within 2, 3, 4 years of their folks. You know what's going on, same as I do. I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you like you're dumb. I'm blessed with actually pretty good subscribers, pretty smart ones. But backing up, you look at these demonic pictures, these ghostly pictures, and see this stuff start moving. At the CERN Large Hadron Collider, that used to be a temple of Apollo that housed this oracle with this spirit of Pythia coming up from the ground, they, inside the tube where they slammed the particles together, had an anomaly. And this anomaly moves around as if it's alive. This anomaly is still there. And I forget the scientific principle or theory that it will only animate itself fully when it's looked at, which sounds like some childish nonsense to me, but that's what they're going with. So there is something alive and moving around as you hear my voice in that tube over there in Geneva. It's madness, folks. And there was a gentleman who was another researcher who was a good friend of mine that explained he was the first one I ever told that, bro, I'm looking at these pictures of these demons that are out there in the woods with these things. They're moving around. He was like, thank God you're the only other person I've talked to who sees it. And once you start talking to these researchers, these field investigators for these cryptids, they'll say the same thing, but nobody wants to feel crazy. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to say, I'm looking at a still picture of this demonic looking being with snake eyes and it's moving around. You see it too? All right, great. So he lived in Germany. Some smart cookies over in Germany. He hired one of these astrophysicists to go through his research. She explained to him in a bunch of 5-syllable words, and I'm not even going to attempt, that these beings, being some sort of a low vibrating interdimensional being, some demon or whatever, isn't bound by our understanding of time and space. So in saying that, be very, very, very careful. There's this person who's I was talking to who took pictures of all this stuff around their house, had heavy duty demonic presences where they would fully manifest, folks. And I'm talking about it's some wicked shit. They would fully manifest. They would try to cause this person harm. And it was a bad deal. But grace be unto God for his unspeakable gift. So these pictures of these so-called ghosts, in my opinion, there is no such thing as a ghost except the Holy Ghost. We give up our ghost. We give up the spirit. I don't think that grandma and pop are knocking down clocks off the mantle and opening cabinets to get our attention because they got lost on the way to a place they've never been before. That's what gets me about mediums, man. Like, how are you going to be a tour guide for a country you've never been to before? You're going to guide a spirit to where it needs to go when you've never been there? Man, get gone somewhere. That's crazy. And I think crazy is a dismissive term, but what would you call that, folks? Think about it. And I'm sorry if anybody's a medium or they talk to mediums out there. I'm not trying to hurt nobody's feelings. I'm just giving my opinion. How in the hell that'd be like me going to Tokyo, Japan to be a tour guide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't speak Japanese, never been out of the country, but I'm going to go and give them tour guides over in Tokyo. How is somebody going to guide a spirit home? Folks, they're called familiar spirits. They can make themselves look like whatever they want. And let me tell you something. These spirits are patient. They can watch you, know what your weaknesses are, know what your guilty pleasures are, know where you're weak. They can watch you for 5, 10, 50 years before they make their move. People think it's always got to be this heavy duty, like wicked, evil feeling in the air. No, not at all. They can present themselves as whatever they want. And it's the same MO, just like in Mark chapter number 5, folks. And I say this to people all the time because as complicated as these beings are, they have the same modus operandi because it works. They start messing with the person, getting them to do these Mickey Mouse sins, going back and forth to them. You know what I mean? Unrepentant of them. Then those Mickey Mouse sins turn into some not so Mickey Mouse sins. Then those turn into big ones. Before you know it, they start these invisible men, like Socrates and Plato said. These invisible men start whispering with their invisible voices into your ear. Start having thoughts that aren't your own, but you can't tell the difference because they already got you on the hook. Then they start pulling you back from people saying, these folks don't really love you. How could they love you? Look at what they're doing to you. Look at what they're saying. Then when they get you by yourself, they say, well, maybe they don't love you for a reason. How could you love you? Look at you. Your room's not clean. You're not clean. Your mind's dirty. Yeah, I'd go ahead and get rid of myself if I was you. But before you do, let's go have some fun. And then they open their hearts and their minds to that demon to twirl a cane and walk right into them, take over their body, do all sorts of crazy stuff until they get tired of them and they force them to kill themselves or put them in a precarious situation where they get killed and they wash and repeat. They'll go to somebody else. Sure as you hear me. And folks, I've seen it time and time and time again. So I don't know. Lord just put that on my heart to tell y'all. It has nothing to do with CERN. Well, it has everything to do with CERN. There is right now, in my opinion, a plan in place. I don't know when it's going to open up. Well, I'm not supposed to know. But all this stuff in the woods, the hauntings that are seeming to increase all around the country, the uptick in aliens and UFOs that have been seen. You guys watch the same things I do. You see it. Why do you think that is? There has to be a reason for it. It all seems. And what's sad about this community is everybody's disconnected. Everybody's disconnected, and there's no real unity. There's no real cross pollination of information between the ufologists and these cryptid guys like me, or the ghost hunters. Which that's anyways. I'm not going to get on anybody's case. Again, my belief is they are out there messing with demons. My granddaddy, God rest him, Freddie Doss Sr., World War II vet, hard man. He ain't playing no games with nobody. To be absent from the bodies, to be present with the Lord. And I'm pretty sure my granddad wouldn't be rocking pictures on the walls and throwing dishes in the kitchen. Tonight I think I'm gonna do a late show and tell you guys a little bit about this gentleman I know. Call him the Wild Man. He's in the deliverance ministry right here in my hometown, and he's been through it. Yes, Shadow Op, I have heard about Carrie. I haven't been live or anything to salute to you too, brother. Thank you very much. I haven't been live or anything to say, I'm not gonna take up too much time with it. But Carrie was my friend, and he was one of the handful of people that are in this field who you knew was going to be straight up with you. And it broke my heart when I heard what happened to him. But I'll see him again. He knew the Lord, and I'll see him when when I get up there, and we'll both be drinking from the fountains of the waters of life that flow from God's throne. We'll sing His praises in endless day. Anyways, yeah, he's a good man. So, yeah, I just want to get on here and rant for a little bit. You guys want to see some more pictures that I found? It's some pretty heavy duty stuff. I like seeing this chat wide open like that, man. It's like old times. Oh, what's up, Angelo? I didn't even know that was you, bro. Angelo Jeffries, God's son. Outstanding. Horrified scum. Hey, Dee Doss, do you remember a jar of pickles? Do you remember a jar of olives? What are you talking about, dude? Oh, yeah, the guy. Yeah. I remember him. My bad. All right, he's didn't bring it. Don't threaten me with a good time. Folks, looking at this stuff reminds me. Baron of Bigfoot, baby. Here we go. I'll tell you what. I'm ready to get back out there. I hear that it's picking up, and I'm going to go right back to my old stomping grounds, but tell y'all a little secret. There's a place that's down in southern Oklahoma near Brown Springs that makes Brown Springs look like a joke at a picnic. And that's going to be the area that I'm going to start frequenting. I didn't go in there because, as retarded as I am, I'm not that stupid, because, I go in unarmed. So, and these creatures in this area, not even the locals go into this area. Like, from what I understand, nobody's really been in there except myself for like 30 years. But I believe the book. I believe the Bible. So greater is He that's in me than he that's in the world. And God does not give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. That power comes before love and a sound mind for a reason, because that power is the power of God. So 1 second, let me grab that for you.
He's a super bad space frog, and he's gonna gobble up and gobble down the human race. There is nothing you can do about it. He's gonna gobble up and gobble down the human race. Oh no.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me? All right, this was the nest I was talking about that I peered down into. Very, very strange. Check it out. We were allowed to see that, if you know what I mean. The sentry that was watching us go in and out of there, actually, and it was my ex-girlfriend's the one that was peering down into it. And it looked like some of the Blair Witch Project. It looked like she just staring into some sticks. I was like, hey, what the hell is going on with you? And she's like, she put her hand up, like, be quiet. And then she waited for me to come here. And I went and looked and I was like, gee, Mo Nelly. And I look around because there's no way we should have been able to get that, like, get right up there on them. But I've been in there for 2 or 3 years. So I guess I built up that trust. But of course, later on, I figured out that I was in the daycare. And, it was the young males and hence the juvenile. And the young males, the females, and the young ones right across the river, right across from my research area. It was the hunting grounds. I guess we'll talk about that tonight. I found some stuff from there that I forgot about. It's just, man. Yeah, so that right there, folks, is the eye of a juvenile Sasquatch during the daytime, bold as Dallas. Got a couple more in here, so not to make myself a liar, but of course, I'm going to take a couple of pictures. You can go. It's going to go through my mind that, hey, who's going to believe this? Do you believe this? Because I couldn't. I'd seen just about everything you could imagine at that point in time, but it was still pretty heavy duty. So let's see what we got here. I don't know if y'all can see that one. That same nest backed up a little bit. As we're walking away from it, I had to take another one. And if you look in the very back of it, I know it's blurry. I apologize for that. But you can see another one. You can see both eyes in the eye shine. Eyes in front, it hunts. You can see the hair around it. I don't know. I dig it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good shot. Just sitting looking at it now, y'all, like it looks like there's more than just these two. Either that or I got squatch fever. I've been looking at these for the past couple of days. And thank you, Larry and Candace. I appreciate that. That's what your boy used to be able to do. That's when I was but a young Jedi. When I left y'all, I was but a learner. Now I am the master. That's just phenomenal to me. Like, look at the one in front. You can even see sort of, and I know that's a stick right there in front of him, but if you really look, you can see the other eye. Just remember, eyes in front, it hunts. So, oh snap! But anyways, y'all want to see one more? Let's check out one more. Why not? Alrighty. This one, this one I took, I believe, with a film camera, because I took all sorts of cameras out there because I wanted to see what this strange anomaly was. You know what I mean? Like, it was happening in every type of camera, no matter how expensive or cheap or what brand it was. It was the same type of weird anomaly that looked like smeared paint, cartoonish looking stuff. But this one, I was walking through there and there was a bunch of juveniles around, and for whatever reason, they weren't really too particular on hiding. So they were, I mean, some were just kind of standing there in the bushes, some were trying to hide, but like this one was trying to hide under a root that was sticking up from the ground and doing a terrible job of it. Now, it's not the best, but you can absolutely make out what it is. Have I been muted this whole time? I'm sitting up here ranting and raving. Anyways, this that one you just saw, there was a juvenile that I laid eyeballs on. Now I believe that one was an actual film camera that I transferred to digital, but the film had that weird anomaly in it. You see what I'm saying? It's this weird, just crazy type of anomaly. Sometimes film has a better quality over digital. Yeah, for sure, the film does, but it's only sometimes, like you said, bro. Like sometimes it does, but why is that? That has to be something. I don't believe it's even them. I think it's a combination of them, us, and the environment. There's something going on with the electromagnetic field in these environments where you find these things, anyways. I mean, that's obvious. Anybody who's ever been out, like when you go into a so-called haunted house, right? Your hair stands up on the back of your neck. You know what I mean? You're having a visceral physical reaction to an entity you cannot see. What is that? You know what I'm saying? And Mega Lynn 67. What riverbed with spiders? Who's talking about the riverbed with spiders? Oh yeah, okay, hold on, check it out. All right. There's this cat named Tex who went out with me a handful of times. He was more or less my field partner. You know, I taught him a lot of stuff that he knows, most of what he knows. And somebody was telling me he was talking about his lost time incident, our lost time incident. He was more interested in like mesmerized by the ghosts and stuff like that, and taking out like shit to talk to him. I don't want to talk to no demon. If I want to talk to a spirit, I get on my knees and talk to the Lord. That's just me. But we went in there one day. We had I don't think we even ate breakfast. He came real early. We got in there around, let's say 7ish. And I was a little bit later than that. It was right around 8. So we got there at 8, a little bit before. I think 7:57 is when I looked at the clock. And he's in love with the cemetery. So we go up the hill to the cemetery. We ramble around in there. And I think this is his first time with me, actually. And again, I don't like going into cemeteries where I don't have kinfolk buried. So I didn't want to spend that much time in there anyways. You know what I'm saying? Um, so we ramble around in there for what, let's call it at max 2 hours. I know it wasn't 2 hours because that whole spot isn't that big. So we leave there and we go to my main research area. We go to my main research area. We get out and he sees his very first Bigfoot ever. As I was explaining to him where the sentries were, told him there's going to be one to your left, and it's going to be a lot closer than the one to our right. The one to the right is going to be at least 100 yards away up on the hill looking down at us. The one to the left is going to be between 15 and 25 yards looking at us. And as we go through, they're going to move clockwise in and out. One will come further in, the other one will come further out. And as I'm explaining this to him, he sees the sentry to our left, which was phenomenal. So we go through there. And I don't remember there being any kind of weird like atmosphere or anything, and none of that electromagnetic stuff I was just saying. We go through there, we go through my main research area, and I remember it being pretty uneventful, except for when we got to this floodplain, the cracks in it, every step we took. I'm not a big fan of spiders. I think that's what kind of cracked my have I seen Blondie? Oh, you are an old school you are an old schooler, old school subscriber, huh? Blondie at Brown Springs. I haven't been to Brown Springs lately, bro. I've been kind of rambling a little bit around my area, but I'm gonna be going here, if not this weekend, the next for sure. But in any event, that's a good question though, man. I'll talk about Blondie here in a sec too. In any event, we go through this floodplain. Everywhere you set your foot, thousands of these. I mean, when I say thousands, let's say hundreds of these white spiders would come right from under your foot. It was like they were carrying you. That's the kind of that I kind of got hypnotized by it, I guess, because I would look down and none of them were crawling on our legs. They would just move from under our feet and come from under our feet. They looked like they were coming out of our shoes. And again, that's probably the only thing that God ever made that I have fear of until that moment. Because what am I going to do? I can't run in that area. I wouldn't run anyways, but I mean, yeah, I remember like I thought my heart was in my throat for a second. Then I was like, hey, the hell with it. That broke my fear of spiders for sure. Because the devil will use like the devils, demons, they use little piddly stuff like that. See, some John Wayne character ain't afraid of nothing, except he's afraid of snakes. Scared to death of snakes. The devil will use that for an open door to start pestering them. But anyways, we go through there, and I think I took some film or video over there, but it, like I said, it was uneventful. I don't believe we went in that far. And we get back, we both agree that we're hungry, and we go back to his truck. And when we look at the clock, it's 4 o'clock. I was like, bro, there's no way in hell we've been in here that long. So we both kind of trip out over that. I called my girlfriend at the time because I was a single dad. She was a single mom until we got together and made the Brady Bunch. And I was like, hey, listen, baby, you gotta get the kids off the bus. We're still in the woods. She was like, still in the woods? I'm like, yeah. So we spent 8 hours in there. We both calculated we lost 4 hours somewhere along the line. 4 hours, folks. My bad. Sorry about that. Stay away from that mute button. Anyways, in this 4 hours of lost time that neither one of us can recall, neither one of us can account for. We go back to my house. We don't talk about it for. I think we talked about it the day of, and we didn't bring it back up to one another for months. But I did look at the footage from that day. There was a lot in the cemetery. And I shot with the Sony Handycam. Now, if anybody has a Sony Handycam, you know that when you shoot an order on a clean SD card or whatever, it'll go in order. It'd be like 0001, 0002, so on and so forth. On this one, brand new SD card, it went 0034, 0061, 0012, I mean, it was completely out of order. It made no sense. There was no rhyme and reason to it. And what was taking place on there. Now, mind you, this was Tech's first time in the woods. And I was kind of leery about bringing people in anyways, but I mean, he emailed me, seemed like a cool cat. I didn't think he was going to get in there and try to do some weird shit. So I took him. And, you know, he saw his first squatch, which is awesome. But when I looked at that footage, 60% of it, I couldn't see him. He was nowhere around me. I mean, I'm turning 180 degrees. Now, this is what I want to clear up because some knucklehead said that I was running and the camera was set down on the ground, that's horse shit. That's somebody's imagination. It's crazy how these things get so many embellishments on it. And the truth is a whole lot crazier than that. Now, again, I don't run in these areas. You hard pressed find me running anywhere, but I'm swinging around 180 degrees. He's nowhere to be seen in a lot of this, right? And I'm sprinting like a dead sprint, Jesse Owens through the woods, through branches and stuff. It looks like I don't even slow down to do it. So, hold on. I'm going to stop the show real fast because this person's hungry. I just want to make that announcement. Horrified Scum is hungry. Thank you, folks, for that special announcement. So, I'm looking at this footage. I don't remember seeing any Sasquatch in it. No sort of weird ghostly stuff when I broke it down. And for anybody who's going out there into the field, if you got an editor, break it down at 60 frames per second, no matter how long it is. And I guarantee you, if something's there, you're going to catch it. If you're breaking a minute-long video of something like slightly moving in the brush, 60 frames per second at the highest quality possible, you're going to see something if something's there to see. Oh, Larry and Candace Hills. No, I no longer have Vanna White, unfortunately. It's heartbreaking. And I don't have my dog, the Incredible Hulk, anymore. The Incredible Hulk died, folks. The Incredible Hulk was an English Mastiff and the best dog. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. He's the best dog a man could have. So, I'm just giving you a hard time, you scumbag. That's my nickname for him, folks. Don't try to say I'm bullying people. See. Anyways, we bring it back up to one another about a year later. I didn't even think about it. I put it out of my mind. Like you lose 4. I don't like it because it feels like it's some sort of a violation. So I sympathize. I really do with those UFO guys who get kidnapped. I'm not going to say abducted. They get kidnapped. They're taken against their will. But see, I didn't feel like anything happened to me. But there's also the caveat of I don't know how many willing vessels for the Holy Spirit are listening to this right now, but you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've ever been a part of a deliverance of somebody from one of these wicked spirits, if the Holy Spirit allows you to be a co-participant and you're in the spirit, gee, Mo Nelly, I'm hard pressed to remember any of it. That's kind of what I think happened, but I don't know. 4 hours is a lot to account for. Because even then, when you're dealing with the adversary, whether it's somebody being oppressed or possessed, you have the wherewithal to pray, to call upon the Holy Spirit, to do what you're supposed to do according to the Word of God. And even though there's some lapse in memories there is still memory. The 4 hours just gone, folks. 4 hours I can't account for. 4 hours that is in some of that footage where I'm by myself sprinting through the woods like the Flash. But I just thought of this as I was saying that. I just assumed that was me. I made the logical assumption since I was holding the camera that it was me with the camera. I think it's the Chickasaw called Bigfoot Igua or something, or Iua, and that means make you forget or made to forget. Anyways, I think it's time to call one of the elders of that tribe again. Got a few questions. But in any event, folks, I am ready to get back out there in the field. I've been out a few times and had a few experiences, but there's nothing to report back on. It's just, you know, they're there, they're in the bushes, you smell them, you see, the flash of black behind a tree that's 30 something yards away. You folks have heard all that, so I'm not going to waste your time with it. And it doesn't seem like it matters whether it's Brown Springs, anywhere. And I've been doing it long enough for people to, I mean, folks are calling me a Ghostbuster, which I hate it, but I mean, it is what it is. A lot of people equate the activities of these things to ghosts. So, in saying that, I sincerely appreciate each and every last one of you guys. Y'all are great. I'll tell you what. One thing I was going to ask you guys. I'm glad that for the ones of you who have watched some of the videos that I've re-released or redone, or even the newer edits. That's all. That was a part of the old channel for you new guys, and it's going to be a part of the new channel. And that's more just for me and the nerds. There'll probably be 100 of us that enjoy it, and that's cool because it's fun. And this Bigfoot stuff, it's all right. It's kind of old. I'm not gonna lie to you because like I've seen all there is to see. I've had an encounter with what people refer to as a dog man. I think it's something completely different. I've been so close. You saw how close I was to that nest. The alpha female, thinking she's protecting me, walked right in front of me with red glowing eyes. Now I didn't feel fear. I felt safe. That'll be the last thing I tell y'all. This encounter, because this is my favorite one. This gentleman plasters his, and this is about 2 years into it, I think. This gentleman plasters his number over all over my YouTube page, over every video. He didn't send me an email, mind you, but he just, threw his number out there. And I was like, man, somebody's going to be calling this guy and raising hell with him or harassing him, and it's going to come back on me. So I went through all the videos and actually like deleted his number, and I called him. I was like, say, Cat, like, what do you got going? What do you need? He's like, well, I'm down here at Brown Springs right now, and I want you to come down here because I blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, whatever. All right, here I come. He's basically challenging me, saying that he used to run around there barefoot and he never saw no Bigfoot or nothing like that. And I was like, man, whatever. So I go down there like an idiot. Could have been somebody waiting to smoke my game. But I go down there and I meet him at the mouth of the cemetery. Now, when I say Brown Springs, a lot of non-locals, that's where they go because that's the Brown Springs Cemetery. They give Halloween ghost tours and stuff there. It's known worldwide. But that road is called Brown Springs. All that part of Oklahoma to a local, we call Brown Springs. So nobody really knows where I go. Well, they do now because apparently some people think anyways, there's some researchers there now who aren't seeing anything because these creatures aren't going to come out for them. So it is what it is on that. Suffice it to say, this dude, I thought he was trying to disprove me. It ended up being something else. But he's down there, and everything I show him, I don't take him past the first threshold. Everything within that threshold is where humans go. That's where and people that don't even know these things are there. Folks that I've seen camping, the few people I've seen camping down there, they innately just don't pass that threshold. So I don't take him past it. I just have a feeling I'm not supposed to. So I show him this old abandoned nest. He's like, oh, well, that could be washed up from a flood. I'm like, bro, okay, whatever. So I'll show him that. I'll show him a few more things, show him a footprint. And he's just being like really combative. The stuff that I know he can't attribute. He's a smart guy. He can't attribute to any kind of natural wildlife or natural phenomena. And I'm getting annoyed at this point. Well, it's this gentleman, his brother, his son-in-law, and his daughter. And him and the son-in-law the son-in-law was all right. He was pretty cool. I think he was kind of had this old well type attitude. Well, they got in their own little powwow and started, kind of talking amongst themselves because they saw something. I heard that they saw something. It was one of the sentries. And as we're going through there, I guess the sentry popped up where they could see it. And one of them, there it is, let's go get them. And they chase after this sentry, right? I've never done anything close to that before, folks. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm kind of getting a little bit nervous. I'm like, hey, it was nice meeting you. Y'all can stay if y'all want to, but I'm gonna bow out. Nice meeting you. And he's like, no, we're sorry. After they, this thing takes off like a bolt of lightning, gets away from them. Then the atmosphere begins to change and the sun's going down, right? So we're sitting going back and forth. I'm telling him how, like, these creatures are out here, whether he believes it or not. And I say this one sentence: if you ever come back in here with me, you'll see something that you can't deny. And as soon as I say that, boom, 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 boom. They're not tree knocks. It sounded like what people call tree knocks, but this sounded like tree knocks if King Kong was knocking on a tree. And just moments, not even a minute, moments after that happened, the alpha female walks across the main trail right in front of us. She looks directly at me and she had these red, I'll never forget it. She had these red glowing eyes, and they do glow. They must be some sort of, what do they call it? Bioluminescent, because the sun was going down. And I mean, it was going down in the west. There was no sun. Anyways, she goes playing out in the open. She walks across the trail from, I don't know where she came from. They have to be underground. Because, I mean, we were rambling around that entire area. We weren't any more than 15, 20 feet away from her. So she's looking down at 8 feet tall, built. I mean, if I was a Sasquatch, I'd holler. I mean, she was built. You could tell she was a female, and what a female. But yeah, she was built. I mean, she had broad shoulders. She looked like China. If you remember that, there's this wrestler named China that used to be in the WWF a long time ago. She was built like that, except more muscular. And she looked at me with these red glowing eyes real quick and briefly, and then looked at that dude. And the only thing I could think of, I mean, maybe y'all have a better theory, but just the tone in my voice. I'd never been anywhere close to mad. I'd be prayed up and paid up before I go in there, and I would be neither happy nor angry. I didn't know what they could pick up off of me. Like, just any kind of animal can pick up your attitude, or you know what I'm saying? Like, so I never really wanted to bring them anything that wasn't of them, if that makes sense. Shack with breasts. No, bro. My first sighting of the alpha female, she was on the other side of the what do you call it? This embankment or whatever, on her belly, like kind of looking up. And that's when I thought I saw like the glass in the bushes, but that was really her hair and her eyeballs. And I mean, she wasn't, for an ugly creature, for a monster, she wasn't bad looking. I mean, she had very soft features. She wasn't like all weird and amalgamated like some of them are, where one eye's up higher than the other one, and they look like Cletus and his cousin got together. Anyways, bro, this female walks across the trail, looks dead at me with red glowing eyes. She walked from behind a tree, out of the brush, from behind a tree, and as she looks at this guy and gets behind another tree, which, I mean, I don't understand it fully, but I do believe that it's innately in them to hide, that they have to have something between you and them. Because after about 4 or 5 years in there, I went in one day, it was raining, and it was one of those that one of them threw a branch, like a big branch, in front of the trail. I didn't feel any kind of fear that I'd messed up, but it was like, hey, we ain't dealing with you today. It's raining, it's pouring. We can kind of be out in the open because nobody's going to be out here. We don't want to deal with you. And that's the kind of feeling I got. And I was like, all right, cool. And I turned around and got back in my vehicle, but I looked back and I kind of stared for a moment. And one of them just kind of leaned from behind a tree, and I could see it from its waist all the way up and just slowly leaned back. So I looked at that as like, hey, we appreciate you being understanding, blah, blah, blah. And as crazy as that sounds, now I'm not saying I got forest friends, because let me tell you something. If my hand was forced to, I'd kill every last one of them to save somebody I didn't know. I'd burn the entire forest down on top of them. They ain't us, folks. I'm sorry, forest friends, and they're different type. They're a type of people, and if somebody kills one, they may be up for murder charges. That's hogwash, bull butter. I don't believe it. They're beasts. They're us without the image of God, in my opinion. Some of them, not all, because some of them are the adversary. When you get these pictures you bring back to your house and they're super fuzzy, and you see little snake eyes in them and stuff like that, be careful. Be careful out there. I know not everybody is a born-again believer in Jesus Christ. I understand that. This is America. You should be able to practice your religious beliefs however you see fit. Me personally, I pray every single time before I go in, and every time that I leave. because these things are tractors that walk. You ain't gonna do nothing with them. I don't care how bad you think you are, what kind of guns you got. Your brain is gonna freeze because it's not used to seeing the symmetry. You don't have a frame of reference. Like if you were to see a lion out there, you would immediately say, "Oh snap, there's a lion." Or even if it was a black bear, which some are, they're not indigenous to southern Oklahoma, but they have been known to kind of ramble through southern Oklahoma. Uh, I've been out in the woods with big cats. All that stuff I have a frame of reference for when I see one. I'm not going to freeze and my mind's not going to like restart itself like an old gateway computer. When you see one of these creatures, your mind's not going to have a frame of reference because they're so big and they're so human that it's going to crash your system. So all that, oh, when I see one, I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to shoot her right between the eyes. Yeah, you bet. You go on out there and make that happen then. So I'm not like people say, oh, well, they need to be protected. This, that, and the other thing. No, we need to be protected if they ever decide to stop just watching. Well, folks, this is my third cigarette and I've rambled on enough. Glad to be back with you guys. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more live shows. If you guys want it, I'm going to give it to you. Also do some recorded content and go over some of my old stuff, break it down a little bit, go into detail, as much detail as I can. But I sincerely appreciate each and every last one of you guys hanging out and joining me and all that good stuff. This was fun. It's been too long. So, in that, does anybody else have anything for me before I jump off here? I know that the Bigfoot world is still warm and open as ever, you know, with no strife and uh, everyone's getting along and peace and harmony. I don't even have to be told that. I know that's taking place. There's no sort of nonsense brewing anywhere. No gossiping, no in-house gossip taking place or anything. Well, I appreciate y'all too. Thank you, Miss Sharon Lane and Diesel 2K. Folks, Diesel 2K gave me a phenomenal piece of footage that I'm going to be putting up here in the next few days. When I say phenomenal, gee, Mo Nelly. It's something that I've never seen before. And anybody who knows me knows I've seen just about all. So I think you guys are really going to dig that. Thank you. May Christ be with you. May Christ be with us all, Maurice. Thank you very much for saying that. All right, folks. Well, I sincerely appreciate it again. My name is Dee Doss, the Baron of Bigfoot, and I'll see you tonight. Later tonight, maybe. If not tomorrow. See ya.